Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion, and what a day of football this was. I am sure you have heard by now, even if you just read it in the heading of this post, that the U.S. men's national team, the USMNT, for those of us in the know, won a really remarkable and controversial, challenging, amazing. Let's just load on the superlatives game against not just one team, but two teams, Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was incredible. I am still buzzing from it. And I am so glad that the jersey that I ordered from eBay came early because I got to wear it today. So I'll tell you a little bit about how and when and where I watched, a little bit about the other games, and looking ahead. I think the U.S. has a pretty good game in the next knockout game. So before we go any further, let us begin as we always begin by recognizing, realizing, celebrating, and affirming that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. So, yeah, the lead story is the last game of the night. And I got to say this, y'all. I believe that that was the best men's national team game I have ever watched. And I don't say that lightly because I've watched a lot, and I've not just watched games in the World Cup. I've watched games in qualifying. I've watched games in friendlies and tournaments. I've seen them live a few times, including just this past fall. That's that sign back over there. Can't see the top of it, but it was for their game when they played a friendly against Japan here in Columbus. And I have never seen them play with the tenacity, with the intelligence, with just pushing it as far as they could. You know, when you look at it, and I'm not going to recap the game, I'm going to assume that you probably have watched at least a little bit of it, maybe seen some highlights. If not, go to YouTube, check out some videos. There's lots of, ones that are pretty short if you don't want to get, a lot. But what was remarkable about it was, first of all, they were off their game plan. In the last three matches that they played, they scored in the first 10 minutes or first 11 minutes, and they didn't. So the first 40 minutes were scoreless. Now, they had some chances. Bosnia had a couple chances early on, too, but they never really posed a threat in the first half. And then two goals by the U.S. or one goal was called back in the first half for offsides. And our man Flo Balogun, who is just the stud, the star, the striker, eventually got a goal in the first half, in the last moments of the first half. And it was amazing. Just the relief, the joy, screaming and jumping up and down. And I got to be honest with you, y'all. I wish I was jumping up and down with a bunch more people than I was. Now, I chose to stay home. There was a watch party here in Columbus. We also had a heat index today of like 105 degrees, and I really did not want to be out in the sun. So I stayed home, watched it with my wife, watched it with my pooch, texted some folks as I was watching. And I think that was really, really fun and memorable. But I'm so glad they advanced because I'm hoping on Monday it's not crazy hot, that I can go and watch again and be it with other people. Because when you see those scenes of crowds when the team scores, that's there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it in the world, really. So then we go into the second half, and that was when the red card happened, about 15 or so minutes in. Actually, I think it was maybe more like 20 minutes. It was before the hydration break. So about 20 minutes in. And again, it was remarkable because it was a hard tackle, but really in pre-VAR days, before they review everything and they can freeze frame and do different angles and high definition and all of that, when it was just a human eye looking, or eyes looking at something and then considering it in real time, a call like that probably would not have been a red card. And really, I think, quite honestly, even after the VAR, it should have been a yellow card. Because to pull a red card, to eject someone out of a game, for what really looked accidental in many possibilities is harsh. And it is a game changer. And that could have been game, set, match for the US because playing with 10 players is really, really hard because you're always going to have somebody that is open, in the tendency. And it's so good that the US didn't do this because this is not their strength. They didn't back up. They didn't park the bus. They didn't, drop everyone back and just play prevent defense. One of the beautiful things about this particular World Cup team, y'all, is that their best defense is a good offense because they don't have a great defense. In fact, it's looked kind of sketchy. Just look at the end of that Turkey A game. But if they can keep pushing, if they can play smart, and because they were ahead, if they can drag their feet, slow walk, waste time, which is legal-ish, that would ultimately help them. And then they got another goal disallowed, which would have put them up 2-0. And then came the most amazing free kick. I mean, it was absolutely stunning. It was a Messi-like kick. And again, find that, take a look at it. The player who made it, he will be, that's going to make his day, make his life perhaps, is getting that goal at that time. And by then it was almost elementary that we just needed to run out the game. There was like 10 minutes of stoppage time, which is a lot. And it never really got nervy at the end, but the US controlled the ball, controlled the game, and we won. And this was epic, y'all. Epic, epic, epic. Because we had only one time before won in the knockout round. Because typically, when there was a round of 16, if you got out of the group, inevitably you would play a pretty powerful opponent. So, especially if you got out of the group second, because you would play a top seed. And that's how the US had progressed in other World Cups. Now with the round of 32, we had a good opponent. Bosnia and Herzegovina was a good opponent, to be sure, but they weren't, playing the big boys, right? And that has allowed us, I think, to show what we have, to get stronger, to overcome. And I feel pretty good about the next game, which is against Belgium. And I don't know if you saw the Belgium game today. That was the middle of the three games. Belgium almost lost. I mean, they were down, and I think they were down 2 goals to Senegal, which is a really quality team. And they came back and tied the last minute to send it into extra time. And then near the end of extra time, they were able to score their goal to win and avoid going to penalty kicks. So Senegal was quality. There was some amazing goals tending. I mean, there were some just incredible saves. So, part of it wasn't just that Belgium, couldn't shoot. It was that Senegal pressed really hard and definitely made a game out of it. So Belgium is known for being a top tier team, but an aging team. And you got to think that playing in the heat that they did, although actually I think it was Seattle, so they didn't play in the heat, but playing that length of game, they're going to be tired. And the US, I think, is going to really be pretty pumped for playing in Seattle, playing on the West Coast again. Now, of course, they're going to have to find a solution for losing their top scorer, their top striker, because he will be out for the next game. But I think we've seen that the US bench is a pretty deep one. So I'm looking forward to that game. Would be amazing if the US could advance to the round of 8, also known as the quarterfinals, because we've only been there once before. And we got knocked out there. So we'll talk much more about Belgium as we get closer. But again, Monday night, 8 p.m., put it on your calendars. One other game happened today was England and Congo DR, or as we like to call it, Dr. Congo. A pretty rough game for England. They looked like they were not going to advance. Now, Congo didn't end up, they got a goal, and actually I think they might have gone up first. I believe they got the first goal against England, so it was a comeback. But eventually the English stars stepped up, and Harry Kane, who is really their star, got a pretty amazing goal that was the winning goal. And they also avoided extra time. Whereas, again, Belgium and Senegal did go to extra time. So A big game, a big day. Ultimately, what this means, y'all, and I think this is the best thing and the most exciting thing, is with the three co-hosts, first time there's ever been a tri-hosted World Cup, all three, Canada, Mexico, and the US, in that order, has made it through. And each of us is going to have tough games. England and Mexico are going to play. And then Canada, I got to look over here at the brackets here. I know Canada has a tough game. South Africa was a fairly kind of a little bit of an easy game for them, but Canada's playing Morocco. And man, Morocco looked good against the Dutch. So I think that's going to be a tough one for Canada. But we are looking really good as America, as North America, bigger America, North America, and really, really quite something. So, three more games coming up on Thursday. We have one more game, set of three games coming up on Friday. Tomorrow, Spain and Austria. Spain is a powerhouse. You got to think this is not going to be much of a game. Portugal and Croatia. Croatia's tough, but again, Portugal seems to be, as they say, growing into this World Cup, which means improving. And then Switzerland and Algeria is the third game. The Swiss have done pretty well, but Algeria, they got amazing fans behind them, and they're playing that in Vancouver. So unfortunately, they won't have their Lawrence, Kansas fans with them, but they will be playing that. And actually, excuse me, that was a yawn right there. It's been a long day. Two out of the three games tomorrow are in Canada, so keep an eye out for that. All right, y'all, I'm tired, but I am pumped, and we'll continue to see where this amazing U.S. men's national team goes, and join the bandwagon. Buy some swag. Wear the red, white, and blue. Use this to have a 4th of July like we haven't ever had before. All right, y'all, blessing and good. Be bold, be well, hold fast, y'all.